Hello true believers. The second issue of the new Sentry comic has finally hit the shelves. This will be a mostly spoiler-free review of that very issue. I say mostly spoiler-free because it will show the first 4 pages, which were also shown in the official preview. These 4 pages continue from the cliffhanger of the first issue, so if you haven't even seen the previews for the second issue, then bake a round cookie and bite off its corners. I will talk about the entire comic in the upcoming spoiler discussion video. Now, let's see what the writer of the story, Jeff Lemire, has in store for our boy Bob Reynolds, also known as the Sentry, also known as Resting Bitch Face. The story starts off where the first issue ended, with the death of Sentry's sidekick Scout and Watchdog by the hands of an unknown mystery invader. The Sentress arrives in the watchtower, finds her dead friends, and the mystery invader, who is revealed to be Cranio, the man with the tree-level mind. Cranio's grand introduction of himself encapsulates some of the stuff I personally love about comics. His speech is colorful, over the top, and full of alliterations. Cranio refers to himself as the Titan of Thought, the Monarch of Mentality, and the King of Craniums. That goes hand in hand with Sentry's Golden Guardian of Good, and Void's Dastardly Denizen of Devilry. I already like Jeff Lemire, but stuff like this makes me like him even more. Marry me, Mr. Jeff. Or if you are not willing to take me as your loving husband, then at least continue writing great stories and dialogue. Yes, the story continues to impress. The stakes are already incredibly high for our hero, but throughout the issue they continue to rise. Meanwhile, Jeff Lemire manages to give every character a very distinct personality and motivation. You understand where the various characters are coming from, and you feel for them. Even for the Sentress, who is actually just a thought. But her emotion, dialogue, and the impactful art make you feel for her, while she is getting overwhelmed by a superior opponent. The issue ends with a cliffhanger, which rises the stakes over 9,000.
9,000? You gotta be kidding me! There's no way that could be right!
I'm not kidding you. The cliffhanger is that good. But let us move on. I had some minor complaints about the art in the first issue, but in the second issue the art is top notch. Kim Jacinta's art is incredibly stylized and impactful. His art has a very strong manga feel to it. It is dynamic and ultra-violent. All of that shows especially well during the fight scenes. In this issue, Kim was the artist for everything that took place in the alternate reality in Bob's mind. The scenes outside of Bob's mind have been drawn by Joshua Cassara, who did an amazing job. His portion reminded me a lot of the first Sentry volume, which was drawn by the great Jay Lee. Everything is gritty and engulfed in shadows. It simply fits the character and the story. If I'm not all too wrong, then Kim Jacinta will continue to draw the Sentry world scenes, while Joshua Cassara will continue to draw the regular universe. And I couldn't be happier about that, because it's a great mix, out of a stylized imaginary world at one hand, and the dull, mundane real world at the other. Rainbow Red's coloring continues to impress as well. In my opinion, you can recognize a great colorist when the digital version of the comic gives you eye cancer. And I mean that in the most positive way imaginable. Some of the visual appeals of the Sentry are bright golden energy and lightning. Rainbow Red illustrates these two aspects perfectly. Rain also makes sure to color the two art styles differently. He uses very saturated colors for the Sentry world scenes, and rather desaturated colors for the scenes in the regular world. That can be immediately noticed in the eye color of the characters. Sentress has unnaturally bright blue eyes, while Bob has desaturated grayish bluish eyes. That is simply damn good coloring. With that being said though, dear Rain, blood isn't brown. Don't let the corporate suits at Marvel hold you back, brother. Comic book readers can't deal with a little bit of red blood, especially in a Sentry comic, where someone is being ripped apart every other panel. I have had some other very minor gripes with the second issue, but these will be discussed in the spoiler discussion video. And besides that, these gripes don't take anything away from the current story, nor do they deduct any points from the rating. However, something did almost make me deduct a point. It was this minor typo. Now I may not be a native English speaker, but I still don't think that's quite the correct way to spell quite. A douchebag would have told the editorial to pay more attention, but not me, good sir. I've got your back, Mr. Brevoort. So do I start on Monday, or what? Anyway, the issue was all around amazing, and I'd give it 5 out of 5 super soldier serums. I cannot wait for the next issue to see how the story unfolds. And if you haven't already started reading the comic, then you should really look into it. It is easily one of the best books Marvel is putting out right now. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, stay vigilant.